The following program, NORML Show Live, is intended for responsible adults only. We advocate for the repeal of marijuana prohibition for adults. We discuss the science, culture, and controversy about America's marijuana laws. We do not advocate or encourage any illegal activity and advise all listeners to learn their state and federal marijuana laws by visiting norml.org, NORML.org. Opinions and claims made by guests and advertisers of NORML Show Live are their own and do not necessarily reflect the philosophy and policies of NORML. Listener discretion is advised.
You take a seed, you plant it, you grow it, you dry it, you roll it, you smoke it. You take a seed, you plant it, you grow it, you dry it, you roll it, you smoke it. Then it goes down smooth. Hey!
Spanning the continent to bring you the truth about cannabis and marijuana law reform.
I smoke pot and I like it a lot.
From the promise of legalization.
And I think we need to think and decriminalize our marijuana laws.
To the agony of prohibition.
One major responsibility is to encourage people to use less drugs.
The National Organization for the Reform of Marijuana Laws presents NORML Show Live, Marijuana Nation. Now, here's your host, NORML's Outreach Coordinator, Radical Russ Belville.
Good afternoon, tokers and tokettes. It is Thursday, May 26, 2011, and it's got to be 420 somewhere in the world. Thanks for joining us for our show here at Rolla J Studios in beautiful Potland, Oregon. We're so glad to have you here. Of course, joining us in the studio, as always, is Ganja John.
What's up, Russ? My button didn't work.
I hate it when that happens. Glad to have you here. How's everything going? I understand there's a comedy in the air tonight.
Yes, yeah. I think we're going to go to Bobby Lee tonight. Me and Kalika are going to go. You're going to go if you have time.
If we can make it.
I need to call John Lucy, apparently.
Yeah, Bobby Lee from Mad TV is where I remember him from. So,
Yes.
Yeah, that'll be a good show. Helium Comedy Club here in Portland, Oregon. Was it Helium Comedy PDX on Twitter?
Yep.
On Pitter?
Pitter?
I don't know
Pitter,
what the hell.
Twitter?
I don't know what the hell Pitter is.
It's like a pity Twitter.
Maybe so. Very well done. All right. Also in the studio, our virtual studio is Cannabis Carrie in Grestoria.
Hello, guys. It sounds like a good time tonight.
Yeah, we're going to have a good time. And how's everything in Astoria tonight?
A little soggy, Northwest stuff.
Yeah, it's typically Northwest right now. Cannabis Carrie brings us our hemp headlines right after our first break. So what's in the news today?
Well, today we've got some news out of Montana who are jumping the gun on getting that new legislation in place. Also a video clip from some protesters in New York State. A trio of bills that are introduced for small businesses and patients. And an update on that Colorado medical marijuana patient who was denied his unemployment benefits.
Okay, that's our news for today. Also coming up on today's show, we have got a debut single from our friends out of Chicago, The Individuals. This will be with John Doe Radio's Groovin' Thursday today. Debut of the song called 420 Situations, so looking forward to that. At half past the hour today, this Thursday, it's Cops Say Legalize Drugs with Leonard Freeling. He's a former municipal court judge from Lafayette, Colorado. We'll be talking to Leonard about the need to end marijuana prohibition in this country. And then we'll finish the day with an update on the story of a U.S. veteran, Jose Guerrena, who was murdered by SWAT team in Arizona this week. Stunning updates on the attempted cover-up by law enforcement. All that and more coming up on today's NORML Show Live. We are the voice of the marijuana nation. Stick around. You might learn something.
You're listening to NORML Show Live, the voice of the marijuana nation.
In today's busy world, we're inundated by advertising for all types of pharmaceuticals that come with a laundry list of potential side effects. Shouldn't you have better medical choices? Natural alternatives to pills pushed by Big Pharma? At Alternative Medical Choices, you could choose natural, safe, and effective alternative therapies that are right for your budget without nasty side effects. Cannabis, or marijuana, has been a legal medicine in the Pacific Northwest since 1998. Our doctors will help determine your qualifications for a medical marijuana recommendation in Oregon, no matter where you live. Our massage therapists will ease your aches and stress with soothing hemp seed oil or cannabis-infused massage salves. We also offer acupuncture, Reiki, and other alternative health therapies. Call Alternative Medical Choices in Portland, Oregon at 503-288-5579 or visit our website at www.altmedchoices.com. We specialize in out-of-state recommendations. That's www.altmedchoices.com or call 503-288-5579.
The world's greatest cannabis competition is coming back to the Bay Area. Over 100 strains of medical marijuana will go head-to-head to see who's the dankest in California. Indicas, sativas, hybrids, concentrates, edibles, plus THC, CBD, and CBN testing. The High Times Medical Cannabis Cup, June 25th and 26th at the Concourse Exhibition Center in San Francisco. It's gonna be awesome. Get your tickets at medcancup.com.
Are you or is someone you know a marijuana smoker? Have you or is someone in your family been arrested for a marijuana violation? You need to know the truth about pot. NORML, the National Organization for the Reform of Marijuana Laws, is the most comprehensive source of information regarding marijuana and its effects on health, as well as legal issues. NORML even offers a database of lawyers specializing in cannabis in your area. NORML, the nation's largest and most successful marijuana law reform organization, has spent decades gathering the knowledge and science on everything related to cannabis. NORML is the best resource to find out the truth about marijuana, connect with a lawyer in your area, or help find an end to prohibition. Information is available at NORML.org, that's NORML.org, or toll free at 888-67-NORML.
Medical marijuana, industrial hemp, consumer cannabis. It's time for this week's NORML News with Cannabis Carrie.
Colorado medical marijuana patient Paul Curry was fired from his job with Miller Coors for testing positive for the substance that he is legally allowed to use. He had worked at the plant for more than 7 years, but upon his test results, was approached by security and asked to clean out his locker and then shown the door. Curry was tested after a minor accident at the plant. Curry and his lawyer insist that he was not high at the time the urine test was given. In cases of accidents on the job, it's often standard procedure to immediately administer a drug test. The test is typically for worker compensation insurance information, so they could deny an employee who was drunk or high as the reason for the accident. The problem with testing for THC metabolites, the science tells us, is that it cannot prove a person's impairment, only that they had consumed marijuana in the last several weeks. In Paul Curry's case, he was also denied unemployment benefits due to the nature of his dismissal. Rob Corey, a champion lawyer for medical marijuana patient rights, took on Mr. Curry's case, telling the Department of Labor and Employment that Mr. Curry was not high in any way at the time of the test, and his marijuana usage was never a factor in his job performance. Colorado law states nothing in the medical marijuana law requires an employer to accommodate the medical use of marijuana in any workplace, and employers in the state have been using that language to terminate medical marijuana patients who test positive for marijuana metabolites while employed, even if that doesn't prove its use in the workplace. Up until now, the Colorado Industrial Claims Appeal Office has denied unemployment benefits to employees testing positive for marijuana, even if they possess a medical marijuana card. In what we hope is not an isolated decision, but a change in policy, the Colorado Department of Labor and Employment granted the ex-Miller Coors employee his benefits. The findings of the appeals office stated, quote, Paul Curry is not at fault for the separation from his employment. A full award of benefits is granted. Congratulations.
Yeah, that is great news. We are so glad to hear it here. You know, so many medical marijuana patients need this protection. And they're getting it in some of the latest laws here. Sorry, a time delay from our audience. They were listening via satellite in Pakistan. So, slight delay. My goodness. We are changing that's me, that's on me. We are changing software tomorrow, so hopefully that won't happen again. But anyway, yeah, this is great news here for the patients, because there are so many that need this job protection. You know, medical marijuana was never enacted with the idea that you had to choose between your job and your health. And for a lot of people, before medical marijuana, they were so sick they couldn't work. And then they find a medical marijuana and it gets them to the place where where they can work. I have a friend who's a graphic designer with multiple sclerosis who the disease was slowly taking over and costing her job. Once she started medical marijuana, she was able to calm the tremors enough to continue working. And that's not an isolated case here. Now, lately, the new laws, like in Delaware and Arizona, offer explicit protections to patients in the cases of driving or child custody or visitation, hospitalization procedures, and so forth with regard to their use of medical marijuana. That is, they cannot be discriminated in those cases. And some states even recognize that the metabolites in someone's urine for a medical marijuana patient shouldn't be cause to give them a driving under the influence ticket as well. And we just hope that the rest of the medical marijuana states and the activists can continue to fight for the rights of the patients and make sure they don't have to choose between employment and health care.
And cannabis activists in New York City gathered yesterday to protest marijuana arrests in the Big Apple. They wanted to end the unfair enforcement of the city's marijuana laws. We have a clip from New York One with Councilman Jermaine Williams and City Councilwoman Melissa Mark Viverito supporting the protesters.
A group of New Yorkers take their protest over marijuana arrests to the mayor's front door. Advocates rally to call attention to what they say is unfair enforcement of marijuana laws. They say cops are targeting people of color, with 85% of those arrested being black or Latino. Some accuse the NYPD of tricking people into showing they have marijuana during stop and frisks so they can charge them with a misdemeanor instead of just an infraction.
It's corruption of the intent of the law. That cannot stand, it should not stand. And what again we're seeing is young people of color under the age of 30 being criminalized unnecessarily. And at the end of the day, it's an inefficient use of our city resources.
My problem is every policy that we always address, for some reason, affects communities that look like mine more than anybody else. This is another case of that, and it's just sickening.
The NYPD denies any wrongdoing. Commissioner Ray Kelly says officers are merely enforcing the law, and if opponents want to change the law, they need to petition Albany.
And a bipartisan team of lawmakers has come together to urge sensible drug policy by introducing 3 bills they say are to protect access to medical marijuana. Democrat Congressman Pete Stark from California, Barney Frank from Massachusetts, and Jared Polis from Colorado, along with Republican Congressman Dana Rohrabacher of California and Ron Paul of Texas, have introduced H.R. 1978, the Small Business Tax Equity Act. That would allow medical marijuana dispensaries to take the full range of business expense deductions on their federal tax returns, just like every other legal business is allowed to do under the law. They contend that the current tax code undercuts the legal medical marijuana dispensaries, since owners are not allowed to deduct the price of the cannabis they buy, which is the backbone of the U.S. business tax code, to allow businesses to deduct the cost of their products for sale. They say this is unfair to small businesses, but worse, it punishes patients who rely on those business owners for safe and reliable access to medical marijuana. Also introduced the Medical Marijuana Patient Protection Act, which would make individuals immune to federal prosecution when acting in compliance with state medical marijuana laws, and direct the administration to initiate the process of rescheduling marijuana under the Controlled Substances Act to place it in a schedule other than either Schedules 1 or 2. And lastly, Jared Polis's Small Business Banking Improvement Act that would ensure that medical marijuana businesses that are state certified have full access to banking services by amending the Bank Secrecy Act. Polis says that if a small business like a medical marijuana dispensary can't access basic banking services, they are forced to become cash only, which makes them a target of crime or puts them out of business altogether. Adding that for businesses that have been state approved, it is simply wrong for the federal government to intrude and threaten banks that are involved in legal transactions. Representative Paul wants the federal government out of state criminal matters so that the states can determine sensible drug policy for themselves. He says that respect for states' rights mean that different policies can be tried in different states to see which are most successful. NORML and other cannabis law reform groups have been working closely with Representatives Frank and Polis and others on the measure and are proud of our lawmakers taking such a courageous stand on behalf of the cannabis community. If you want to know more about these bills or how you can contact your members of Congress in support of these measures, visit norml.org and check out our Take Action Center.
Oh, that's good news. Yes, good news that we have These three great bills, because a lot of these businesses cannot continue if they can't access banking, basic banking features. We've seen how American Express won't take use their cards anymore for dispensary purchases. We've told you the story of Intuit, not even licensing places that for merchant services that are medical marijuana referral clinics. They don't even sell medical marijuana. They just have doctors that refer medical marijuana. We've seen the problem with PayPal and other banks that just won't work with dispensaries in Colorado and California. And so these are a couple of really good acts here. And to allow them to take their business tax deductions like any other business and to not misuse a statute that was originally used to go after drug kingpins to instead go after lawful medical marijuana businesses in those states. Again, that's a good bill as well. And the Medical Marijuana Patient Protection Act, great bill as well, because we're talking about leaving the federal government out of the states that have legal medical marijuana. These are all wonderful bills and deserve your support. Go to NORML's Take Action Center at NORML.org and click the links and send your emails, send your fax, send your letters to your members of Congress. That being said, the bad news is we have a Republican House led by John Boehner, and it's not very likely any of these bills will even come up for a committee hearing. Unfortunately, yeah, I know it's unfortunate, but that's kind of the way politics works. But that doesn't absolve you of your responsibility to still contact your representatives and let them know the support is out there. It's not always going to be this way, and some of those representatives may stick around for the next Congress where maybe we do get a hearing on these bills.
And even though the strict new laws governing their medical marijuana program in Montana don't go into effect partly on June 1st and then fully on July 1st, the state's health department has stopped issuing medical marijuana cards in the state. Montana's state health department has not issued a medical marijuana card since May 13th, the day before the legislation passed. They are, however, still receiving applications, according to Roy Kemp, an official with the Department of Public Health and Human Services. He says that they will not issue any cards until after at least June 1st, when the next phase of the new law triggers in. He says that new applications can't be processed until the new system under the law is in place. Kemp says there are no new cards, no renewal cards, and no loss replacement cards whatsoever until the new law kicks in. Department spokesperson John Ebert echoed that sentiment, telling reporters, quote, "The department is in compliance with the law and we're not processing applications." Senate Majority Leader Jeff Essman, who sponsored that bill, Senate Bill 423, a compromise of sorts as opposed to dumping the medical marijuana program in its entirety, said it was great news and says he hopes they update their website that indicate they are continuing to process applications until June 20th. There has been some confusion over the implementation of the new law, which repeals and overhauls the state's 2004 voter initiative medical marijuana law. The legislature passed Essman's bill, and Governor Brian Schweitzer allowed it to become a law without his signature. In a legal opinion written on May 19th for the Lewis and Clark County Attorney Leo Gallagher, it said, quote, "In conclusion, after spending 1 hour on this matter, I can find no authority in SB 423 for the Department of Health and Human Services to continue to issue medical marijuana cards unless they have proceeded under emergency rules. The department hasn't adopted any emergency rules yet, and they say that when they do, they may begin to process some of the applications." In response to the passage of a more constrictive medical marijuana law, the Montana Cannabis Industry Association has filed a lawsuit seeking to have the law declared unconstitutional. The group is also mounting a signature gathering effort aimed at suspending the new law until Montanans can decide its fate at the polls in November of 2012. In defense of his new law, Senator Essman wrote an opinion piece yesterday in the Billings Gazette calling the lawsuit challenge to the bill a, quote, "legal action filed by the highly paid hired gun of the millionaire marijuana growers to prevent them from losing their very profitable business model on July 1st. Tisk, tisk.
Oh, yeah. The millionaire marijuana growers. Yeah, there's so many millionaire marijuana growers out there. I think the last one that I saw in one of the comments on the stories that I was replying to said he may have made $75,000 last year. So, not a bad salary, but, a far cry from millionaires. I always love how whenever we've got them on the ropes in public opinion, they always come back to say that, it's the well-funded out-of-state drug legalizers that are moving public opinion. No, public opinion is already there. We don't need millions of dollars to move it there. It's already there. You're trying to convince the people that this is some sort of AstroTurf movement from out of state, that there's some sort of big money behind this, or that it's these few medical marijuana entrepreneurs that are hanging on to their millions from being dispensaries or being doctor clinics, when in fact, the reason that they're successful as they are is because the people support them. The people continue to use their services. They find it a lot better to go into a well-lit, secure place with lots of selection than to have to hide out in parking lots and city parks and the back alleys where they used to score their marijuana, or the people, their friend's house, or some guy they know, the guy who knows another guy. Those days are over, and the people are not going back to it. There are over 30,000 registered patients in the state of Montana, and no matter what you do to this law, those patients aren't going back into the closet. They're not going back to the harsh pharmaceuticals. They're going to continue to use marijuana. All you've done here, Essman, all you've done here, Governor Schweitzer, is create 28,000 criminals.
After that, wow, after that, I think I need a BlackBerry break.
Yeah, who of course are not criminals. They're not criminals, they're patients. We just call them criminals. They're just people. They deserve it.
It's 20 after the hour, and we have to take a short break, if you know what I mean. Please support these sponsors who support NORML Show Live.
Oh, have you ever met that funny reefer man? A reefer man. Have you ever met that funny reefer man? A reefer man. If he said he swam to China, he would send you South Carolina. Then you know you're talking to that reefer man.
NORML Show Live reminds you to never consent to a search. If you're holding and you consent, in most states you will be arrested immediately and you will go to jail. If you don't consent to a search, police may try to intimidate you by threatening to bring in drug-sniffing dogs, or try to fool you by saying things will go easier if you consent. Yeah, easier for them, sure. Stand your ground, refuse the search, and ask the officer if you're free to go. If they still detain you and eventually find your contraband, you'll be no more busted than if you had allowed the search. But by refusing the search, your attorney has a chance to win your acquittal before a judge. If you consent to the search, your attorney's hands are tied. You can find a list of NORML Legal Committee attorneys specializing in marijuana cases by visiting the Find a Lawyer link at norml.org.
Law420.com. Hello, I'm Russ Belville, Outreach Coordinator for NORML. In my job, I read literally hundreds of headlines each month involving nonviolent, productive citizens whose lives are ripped apart by a marijuana or drug arrest. Many citizens could avoid arrest by refusing police searches and remaining silent, but police are well trained to confuse and intimidate. That's why you have a right to speak to an attorney before answering any police questions. I hope you never need to exercise that right, but if you do, make your first call to the law offices of John C. Lucy IV. John Lucy is an accomplished criminal defense attorney with expertise in Oregon's medical marijuana law. John Lucy understands and respects cannabis and drug consumers of all backgrounds. Call John C. Lucy IV at 503-227-6000 or visit in downtown Portland. Address available at law420.com. That's John C. Lucy IV at 503-227-6000 or visit law420.com today.
It's time for your daily Toker Tunes, the best in 420 friendly music from all genres that uplifts, entertains, and informs the public. Today we bring you tunes for Groovin' Thursday. Our salute to all the dopest beats and killer rhymes that we find in the best of rap, hip-hop, soul, R&B, and funk. If you'd like to submit your song to be played on NORML Show Live, send it to us at stash@norml.org. Now here's some more great independent marijuana music for today's Daily Toker Tune.
All right, I love these opportunities we get to go live with some of the artists that supply their music here for our Daily Toker Tunes, people that support an end of marijuana prohibition, and you get no better supporters than the Individuals from Chicago, Illinois. We got Raw on the line from the Individuals. Raw, how you doing?
I'm doing okay. Everything's doing good.
Good. Glad to hear it. Hey, before we get into talking about the song, what up with the Bulls, man? Down 3-1. What's happening?
Oh, man, it's just a bad game, but, you know, they got to come back. You know, they got to play a little better, you know.
Yeah.
With a little better plan, you know, everything's going to get better.
I sure hope so. All right. Hey, the individual, of course, longtime supporters of marijuana reform, 12-time winners of the Marijuana Music Awards, I understand. Tell us about this new track and the new album here, 420 Situations.
Oh, well, you know, the new album is it's something we've been working on. It's our third album. It's the third one, but it's like we're working on the album finished, but we're not in the process of putting it out because we're actually in talks right now doing a deal with a major label. So, you know, but the album, you know, we're in a major label deal right now. You know, we're talking with a major label. So, you know, but everything's still everything. But you know, we're just really focusing on this, trying to get this major label deal going. You know.
All right. So you gotta hold off on the release here while you get all the business taken care of. Is that it?
Yeah, a little something like that.
All right. So what kind of tracks are we talking about? You rapping about? Of course, we got 420 Situations. What's the meaning behind it? What's the inspiration?
Well, you know, it's about our daily life, our situations that we go through, you know, the things we go through, and, you know, what happens when things don't go right, you know what I'm saying, how situations can be right, you know, how marijuana can make situations right, you know, marijuana can make situations better instead of making things bad as they portray it to be.
Yeah, that's a good message. Man. And who are some of your inspirations in the movement when you guys are putting together lyrics and putting together songs, both, you know, musically? Who do you look to musically, and who do you look to in the marijuana movement to put that together and make good tunes, make good tracks?
Well, you know, basically when we make our tracks, we just go in there and just think about a lot of stuff that we see on the news related to marijuana. We like with 420, NORML, Uncle Mike. It's various of people that we listen to. It's not particularly down to one person or one genre, but we listen to a lot of things, and we put everything that we hear together, and we make, you know what I'm saying, we make good marijuana music.
Right on. I completely agree. Well, we're going to listen to this track right now, this new track, 420 Situations. Anybody else on the track that needs to get a shout out?
Yeah, the whole, you know what I'm saying, the whole crew, you know what I'm saying, Big Lou, Ando, TCO, you know, everybody, you know what I'm saying, everybody that participated on that album, you know what I'm saying, on that song, you know, so it's a hot song, you know what I'm saying, it's something that everybody should listen to, it's something that you should always have, you know what I'm saying. All
right, well, we'll play it for us right now. It's the Individuals with 420 Situations. Thanks so much, Raw, and good luck, Bulls.
Okay, go Wolves, yeah.
Yeah, take it easy.
John Doe.
Okay. John Doe here with your Groovin' Thursday tune on NORML Show Live. Thank you for welcoming me back. Took a break for a few weeks. We are back with the Individuals. 420 Situations is the name of the tune. Some of the most vocal dudes out there. If you follow them on Twitter, you absolutely understand what I'm talking about, not just on the cannabis reform. So whether you agree with them on their other topics or not, they certainly have a lot to say. Their new album is coming out very soon. It has been delayed. I know why it's been delayed, but you don't, and unfortunately, I can't tell you why at this point in time, but if all goes well, there will be awesome, great news to fill you in on. Big thanks to the guys for always supporting us here at the show. They've created a few liners for us, a few drops in their studio, and we support them. I voted for them for Best Tune and Best Rap Group when I did some voting for the Marijuana Music Awards. They've won like 12 Marijuana Music Awards, more than any other artist out there. Big congrats to those guys. This tune off their upcoming album sent directly to me. I thank them again. How many times can I thank the Individuals and say what up to them in this one? Anyway, you guys rock. 420 Situations features a bunch of reformers, including Russ Belville. He's in on this. Somehow I didn't make it on this. Dudes, I know you're listening to this recording because I know you take pride in everything that you do. You want to see how this turned out. Next time, I got to get on that. All right, deal. I'm John Doe. Until we meet again next time, see ya.
Hi, this is Keith Strop, the founder and currently legal counsel at NORML, the National Organization for the Reform of Marijuana Laws. NORML is the marijuana smokers' lobby in America, working to stop the arrests of responsible marijuana smokers and establish a legally regulated market where consumers could buy their marijuana in a safe and secure environment. I smoke pot, and I like it a lot. There is absolutely nothing wrong with the responsible use of marijuana, and it should be of no interest or concern to the government.
Hello, this is Jack Heron. Cannabis hemp is the #1 vapor, fiber, food, fuel, and medicine. In fact, it's the best medicine in the whole world for curing cancer. 100% of cancer and most traces. Listen to the individual.
Yeah, it's a war on drugs, but we ain't a drug, it's a herb. Grown from the earth, I was blowing that perk. When I wrote this verse, I was gone in the head. Think about a plant that God made if I get caught with. Wrong place at the wrong time, had me locked up for a long time. Had your ass in the cage for a little dime. On the real, I won't lie. I'ma stay high, I'ma stay fly. Middle finger wave to the law like high. I don't give a fuck about the laws right now. I'ma go hard, get my all right now. Blaze that up, state my case. Blow a big cloud in the police face. Sick of the slicks tryna jack my swag. Searching my whip tryna find some bags. Tip low key, oh so sweet with the flip technique. Running through the land like a hungry beast. Look what these haters done did to me. I'm TCO, finna go OC. We can hide that woe, you can keep your peace. I'ma be right here rolling swishes sweet. Legalize my trees, don't fuck with me.
Hello, this is Ed Rosenthal. I smoke weed every day, and I feel that I'm really patriotic because I'm helping the DEA get rid of that weed. You see, I look for it, I seize it, and then I destroy it.
Hey Tokers, this is Radical Russ, the voice of NORML, and it's got to be 420 somewhere in the world. The individuals have a message for you, and it's about your freedom. It ain't about getting high, because we're getting high already. It's about Eddie Lepp and Charles Lynch fighting prison time for gardening. It's about Rachel Hoffman and Katherine Johnston, dead because of cops playing drug war. So listen up and pay proper respect. Respect.
Hello, this is Casper Leach, host of Time for Hemp. When I think about re-legalizing marijuana, I think about the freedom that will come from doing so. The freedom of the people who are stuck behind bars, and the freedom of the taxpayer who is stuck paying to put those people behind bars. I think about the freedom of the farmers to grow a cash crop that can yield 50,000 different products that can generate millions of jobs for our hardworking Americans coast to coast. I think about the freedom for the medical patients in this country who need to use this plant for the many, many ailments that this plant can help with.
Hello everyone, I am the King of Pot. I speak out for those who can about the benefits and the legalities surrounding marijuana. It's hard to come out of the closet when you work for those big corporations that don't allow you to speak the truth. But I'm here to tell you that there's nothing wrong with smoking marijuana. So stand up for your rights when you can.
Brother, give me that weed so I can proceed to putting that smoke in my lungs as I need. Me stopping my smoking and choking, you gotta be joking if you think you talking to me. Well, I'm a chief, see, that's what I be. But I roll up, never come with no seeds. Helping my cataract so I can see. And you know Raven gon' make sure I eat. Not for the law, I say fuck the police. We can keep on, say fuck with the peace. What you ain't know, you can't fuck with a beast. Illegal or not, I'ma do me. No shame in my game, I love Mary Jane. She always there, relaxing my pain. For me to stop blowing is really insane. Cause that's the only thing keeping me sane. And still every bang, that reefer was gone from the dirt. The one who died for us, he put it on earth. So what are you saying? God want us to hurt? Stand up, be a man and put on your skirt. You giving us fines, ain't even on work. I'm paying my dues and pull off with a smirk. I'm throwing my fingers to all of you jerks. Cause the answer to cancer is weed and it works.
Hi all, this is Richard Rawlings from the United States Marijuana Party. I've been smoking marijuana for over 35 years now. The only damage I've seen come from the use of marijuana is the damage that the government inflicts on us because we choose to use this plant.
Starfish Designs, makers of the original Gandalf.
I'm Radical Russ, and when I want to relax, I always have my 17-inch long original Gandalf from Starfish Designs nearby. The hand-blown borosilicate glass is strong and easy to clean, and the design is sleek and sophisticated. Starfish Designs are available from Bend, Oregon at a glass retailer near you. For locations, call 541-788-GLASS. That's 541-788-4527.
As
As High Times Senior Cultivation Editor, I'm often called into the field and asked to sample or even identify exotic strains of marijuana in their natural habitat. Now, for the first time, I've compiled more than 120 of my favorite strains into this single field guide designed to fit into your pocket as you travel the world in search of your favorite plant. From a friend's closet grow room to the wilds of Northern California, this single guide covers all of today's best-known strains, plus heirlooms and throwbacks, including High Times quality photos and information on each variety's genetic heritage and growing characteristics, plus my personal notes on aroma, flavor, and potency. So this is Danny Danko, author of the official High Times Field Guide to Marijuana Strains, wishing you good times and great ganja.
The official High Times Field Guide to Marijuana Strains is available at hightimes.com and finer bookstores.
One of the most disturbing elements of the war on marijuana is how it's made police the enemy of otherwise law-abiding cannabis consumers. Fortunately, one group of police officers knows firsthand the futility of the drug war and reaches out to the community and to current law enforcement to end our war on drugs through legalization. It's time now to speak to one such officer in our continuing look at law enforcement against prohibition.
All right, we're going to go back to the Rocky Mountains, the state of Colorado, and we're speaking with Leonard Freeling, who's a former Lafayette, Colorado municipal judge and a member of Law Enforcement Against Prohibition, and I believe a longtime member of the NORML Legal Committee, if I'm not mistaken. Is that right, Leonard?
All correct, 100%. I'm a life member of the NORML Legal Committee and a Colorado speaker for LEAP, and otherwise politically involved in this mess.
Okay, excellent. And from speaking to you on numerous occasions, I've remembered that you had a lot of experience on these issues related to cannabis and driving and DUI, and it's something we've been talking about lately because in Colorado, of course, there was that bill to determine a per se standard for DUI, and now there's initiatives that have been filed that some critics are complaining would make DUI a constitutional crime. Let's sort out the myths and the facts on this. What can we tell people about DUI and cannabis in Colorado and elsewhere in the country?
Well, that's a nice small question.
Yeah.
Let me see what I can do with it. First, many people are believing the myth based on some fairly old and not wonderful studies, although they're pretty amusing in spots, that cannabis does not impair and in fact slows people down and makes them more cautious. The more current research, the more careful research seems pretty clear that certainly some people at some levels, depending on the individual, depending on how much they used, depending on what they smoked or edible, are impaired by cannabis. So first, one of the criticisms I've heard of us is, why isn't there anyone out there like Mothers Against Drunk Driving saying, maybe really not such a good idea to smoke a joint and hop in the car or smoke while you're driving down the highway, just may not be the wisest thing. So we need to be saying that. Mm-hmm. Is everyone impaired at the same level? It appears not. The bill that I focused on this year in Colorado was an attempt to set a legal limit of, and I'm oversimplifying a little bit, guilty if you have greater than 5 nanograms per milliliter of active THC in whole blood. Now, the part they got right, and that would be within 2 hours of driving, the part they got right, and my ego says, I hope in part to me yelling at them enough times politely, was that they're talking about at least the right numbers, active THC, whole blood, so we at least know what we're talking about. There are two big questions that are going to face us next year. We killed it this year. We've won on this one. Right now, driving under the influence of cannabis falls under our DUI laws and I think adequately covered already. Next year, what I anticipate is whether there should be this, what they call a per se level. If your number is above a certain level, then you can't present a defense beyond the number's wrong. The problem with it is, even though at 5, that made Colorado the most liberal proposal on the table this year, it is too low for some, maybe significantly too low for some, and arguably too high for others, but certainly too low for some.
Right.
For a long time, we thought the studies were showing that after even just a few hours, the active level of THC in the blood would likely be below 1. Grottenherman, whose name we've all heard a zillion times, the latest thing I read from him was a conservative number, wait 3.5 hours. And we're talking smoking and vaporizing, we're not talking edibles, of course.
Mm-hmm.
The tricky thing is that the active THC in the blood rises unbelievably fast. Basically, by the time you're finished smoking a joint, the THC in your blood is already peaked. And for many people, or just shy of the peak, for many people, it'll be down below 5, below 4 within an hour, 2 hours. Mm-hmm. What I am starting to see, which is frankly confusing the hell out of me, which is frankly not very difficult these days, what I am starting to see is with some of what are referred to as chronic smokers, whatever the hell that means. What we used to think that if you saw anything above a half or 1 after a couple of days, that was a total anomaly, and there was a study showing one guy was still, I think, a little bit over 1 after 7 days, and that was unheard of. What we're starting to see now is people that we think, can't prove, we think perhaps have not imbibed anything for 3-4 days and are coming in at 15s and 20s. What I can say with great assurance is that I can say nothing with great assurance about it.
Yeah.
It's puzzling. I don't know if it's a metabolism issue. And these are people that I believe no one is claiming are impaired.
Right.
But a per se test would give them a huge problem. Now, in Colorado, we have the advantage that this is constitutional rather than statutory. If we look at some of the other states, because I know you're not just in Colorado, if we look at some of the other states, we see a variety of nothing to a per se number lower than 5 to 3, and we see other states that are still screwing with urine, which frankly pisses me off because it's waste. And there's zero tolerance states that if we find the active ingredient metabolite, the carboxy, the COOH, THC, which everyone agrees is not psychoactive, if we find any of that, then you're DUI.
Yeah.
Now that's, of course, insane.
You identify the fact that this is going to be so difficult to have a one-size-fits-all number, unlike alcohol, which I think, and I haven't looked up ton of the studies on this, but at least better correlates to accident rates and safety issues, the blood alcohol in breathalyzers I'm referring to, of course. So without being able to come up with a per se standard, a particular number, the one-size-fits-all, even looking at that, even if we could, what's the practicality of issuing, having blood tests, blood draws being enforced by the state? Would it even be possible, even if we could come up with a number in the blood, would it be possible to initiate a statute that would be practical for getting that blood?
On the one hand, many of my friends feel that this basically compelled blood draws and assault and couldn't possibly be right. Mm-hmm. On the other hand, if the number means something, right now blood is the way to do it. When people ask me, I do drunk driving cases of all types. When people ask me, what should I do if I'm stopped for drunk driving? And I say, well, it's very simple. First, don't drive if you can't pass a blood test. And then second, only do a blood test because the breath is so crappy. It's just poor science. Mm-hmm. Here, it's a different twist on it. Long term, I think it'll be a paradigm shift where there'll be the equivalent of the saliva swab, but something that actually works, where they can, with less intrusive means, get some kind of a reading. And it makes sense to me, as a criminal defense attorney of 35 years, it makes sense to me that result of active cannabis in the blood should at least be evidence that a prosecutor can introduce, along with other evidence, that a person's driving was impaired by drugs or alcohol or both. Look at OxyContin, for example. It is illegal if you have a prescription for Oxy and you're taking your drug according to your prescription, and that combination causes you to be impaired, you're guilty of driving while impaired. But there's no level. There's no number, and that's true of every single drug that impairs except alcohol. And that's because, I suspect, just because alcohol has gotten so much attention. Now, there is one thing that I think we also need to be spreading the word on. Not only is the impairment issue something that we should be aware of, the mix of a little bit of alcohol and a little bit of cannabis, as I suspect many of us know, is a synergistic effect and is demonstrably significantly more impairing than just the cannabis or what you would predict from the combination. They do work off each other in terms of impairing driving.
That's right.
I read one study that was talking about, and I have to read it again to claim that I understand it, but it was talking about how experienced smokers compensate for some of the driving problems. For example, extra stopping distance, checking mirrors more often, not falling victim to the tunnel vision thing. That there was some scientific difference between that and an alcoholic's tolerance to alcohol. I didn't fully understand on the first reading what the difference was, but the result was that the tolerance with cannabis really was much more significant in terms of posing less safety risk.
All right. Well,
okay, further in that sentence.
Yeah. Well, we'll just have to leave it at that. Encourage everyone to keep an eye on these ever-changing laws, and to just don't drive. You can sit back and relax for a couple hours and not endanger yourself or others. There's no reason to put yourself behind the wheel if you've had a little too much of anything, whether it be legal, illegal, pill, smoke, drink, whatever it might be.
Let me interject this. Most of my clients are busted for DUID, for DUI pot, because they're smoking while they're driving down the road, doing something to catch attention. They're breaking more than one law at a time.
Right.
Or they smoked earlier in the day or a few hours ago. I can't even count how many times I've heard it. When people get pulled over for alcohol, they fight, yell, scream, deny, and they only had 2 beers if they admit that. When people get pulled over on suspicion of pot, driving under the influence of pot, the first thing they do is confess. The second thing they do is apologize. The third thing they do is voluntarily turn over any pot in the car to the cop and then show them in Colorado, their medical marijuana license, as if that's going to do them any good at that point, other than on the possession issue.
Well, yep, that's violation of one of our principal acronyms here at Normal Show Live, STFU, stop talking in front of uniforms.
The way, I've heard different ways of putting this, but the way that I still kind of like is, officer, I'd be happy to chat with you about that, but anything like that, of course, needs to be arranged with my attorney.
There you go.
And then leave it to me to say, no, you're going to shut up. Or, on the occasional case, we need to have a chat with that cop. It's happened.
Yeah.
It's not much. It's rare, but it happens.
Yeah. All right. Well, Leonard, we've got to move on here. I want to thank you so much for joining us here and being a part of Law Enforcement Against Prohibition and our Cops Say Legalized Drugs segment. Thanks for joining us.
Absolutely my pleasure, Russ. Thanks.
All right. We come back, a little radical ranting on the terrible situation in Arizona.
76% of Americans no longer support arresting and jailing marijuana smokers, and nearly as many support the medical patients having access to medical marijuana. And over 80% of our citizens now believe the war on drugs is an ineffective failure. So the question is, when will the government's misguided war on adult marijuana smokers finally end? When? Simple. When you and your like-minded friends, family, and coworkers get involved with an organization such as the National Organization for the Reform of Marijuana Laws, also known as NORML. My name is Keith Stropp, and I founded the organization in 1970. Contact us at NORML, toll-free, 888-67-NORML, or by visiting the organization's up-to-date webpage at www.norml.org.
You want answers? I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore. You want answers?
You have offended my family.
I think I'm entitled. You want answers? I want the truth.
And you have offended Shaolin Temple.
You can't handle the truth.
Surely you can't be serious. I am serious. And don't call me Shirley.
Radical Rant.
All right, folks, we briefly informed you on a previous episode about the killing of a Marine who had served two tours, in Iraq. This is the story of Jose Garina, and we've got it up on our blog at stash.normal.org. And as the story goes, Jose had finished working an evening shift, a night shift. He was working nights in order to help save money to buy a home for he and his family when there was loud noises of intruders bursting in the middle of the night. And these intruders, of course, turned out to be SWAT cops. New development in the story. The wife of the Marine, of course, he was there with his wife and his 4-year-old. His 6-year-old was already at work. The wife of the Marine, her relatives were murdered in a home invasion robbery just recently, over the past couple of years, and one of their kids shot and wounded. The other kid, the 3-year-old, shot and wounded. 10-year-old managed to go unharmed. So he already had in his past, knowing how his wife had gone through her relatives, suffering through a home invasion that got them killed and their child shot. With that in mind, he tells his wife and his 4-year-old to hide in the closet. He grabs his AR-15. He goes out into the hallway. The cops see him. The SWAT cops see him from the other end of the hallway and shoot 70 rounds in 7 seconds, hitting him with 60 of the rounds. Right. So as he lied there bleeding, the SWAT cops usher the wife and the kid out of the house and then keep the house on lockdown, preventing paramedics from attending to the shot Marine for over an hour. Over an hour. This guy survived 2 tours of Iraq defending his country to come home and have his own police force murder him in his home. Now, this was all involved as part of a series of raids that were being conducted under warrants by the Pima County sheriffs, the SWAT departments there, over a supposed marijuana trafficking organization. And the information now is coming out thanks to incredible reporting by Radley Balco from Reason Magazine, who is now reporting up at Huffington Post. This is a major story there at Huffington Post right now, and I'm going to read you some from that story on some of the things that are happening. And pretty much the major problem here is that the cops in this story are changing their story as more evidence comes out. At first, when this was reported, the cops reported that the Marine, the battle-tested Marine who was trying to defend his family, yelled out to the cops, "I got something for you. Yeah, I got something for you." Which, yeah, sure, that's exactly what battle-tested Marines say before they go into battle. But also, the original claim was that they saw a flash of gunfire, the flash from his muzzle, from his AR-15, and then they returned fire. Actually, they found out that the Marines' safety was still on, as is common operating procedure by people who are trained with weapons in combat. They know to keep that safety on until they have sight verified that what they're going after is something they want to kill. So they shot this guy with the safety on his AR-15. Now, I go to the story here from Radley Balco. The Pima County Sheriff's Office has now changed its story several times over the last few weeks. They've issued a press release scolding the media and critics for questioning the legality of the raid, the department's account of what happened, and the department's ability to fairly investigate its own officers. They have obtained a court order sealing the search warrants and police affidavits that led to the raids, and they're now refusing any further comment on the case at all. This is a typical tactic that they take when something goes wrong in these police raids. They shut down, they shut everything down. They make sure to get the warrant sealed, the affidavit sealed, so the public can't look at it and get a good idea what's really going on here. Let's see. Balco continues, when I contacted the public information officer, Jason Ogan, with some questions, he replied via email that the department won't be releasing any information. On Saturday, Pima County Sheriff's Clarence Dupnick told the Arizona Daily Star columnist Josh Brodesky that he may never release the search warrants and police affidavits. Never. Dupnick rose to national prominence earlier this year after claiming combative political rhetoric contributed to Jared Loughner killing 6 people and wounding 19 others, including Representative Gabrielle Giffords. Now, it's important to note, as they mentioned the Loughner case, right? Jared Loughner, the shooter who in a public place shot Gabrielle Giffords and a few others. It's important to note that during that chaotic scene, when law enforcement was on the crime scene, during all of that chaos, the paramedics were at Gifford's side within minutes. But in this case, where it is a coordinated SWAT raid, where they have warrants to go in on people with body armor and automatic weapons ablazing, they don't let paramedics get in there until over an hour, and this Marine bleeds out in his own home. Now, the problem, here's his explanation. He's got some great explanation as to why they need to seal all of these warrants. Ogan wrote, quote, "The investigation that led to the service of the search warrants on May 5th is a complicated one involving multiple people suspected of various very serious crimes. Sometimes law enforcement agencies must choose between the desires of the public to quickly know details and the very real threat to innocent lives if those details are released prematurely. Those are the real sensitive parts of why we are having difficulty with trying to put information out publicly, because we don't want somebody getting killed." Yeah, the problem with that is you're talking about sealing these things 4 days after somebody got killed, right? If it was such a big public safety issue, the warrants and affidavits would be sealed before you begin the raids, not 4 days after the raids happen. Moreover, if this was all about breaking up a dangerous home invasion ring, where are the suspects and where is the evidence, asks Radley Balco in his article here. According to an advocate for the Garina family Balco spoke with this week, police also mistakenly raided another home near Garina's the same morning and have since replaced that home's front door. Again, the Pima County Sheriff's Department is refusing comment, so Balco can't verify this allegation, but police officials have admitted that even the Garina warrant was only for his residence, not for Jose Garina personally. His name doesn't appear anywhere on the warrants. The police also concede they weren't aware that there was a child in his home at the time of the raid. So we've got some reason to question how thorough this investigation really is. Now, as we look through the rest of the story, the other thing that's happening is Pima County sheriffs are allowing some of their spokespeople to leak information that would be beneficial to the police department, saying things like they've never been convicted on charges relating to on-duty conduct, which actually isn't true either, because there was a cop convicted of sexual assault and kidnapping back in 2005. Also, this spokesman told the Arizona Daily Star that Garina, the victim here, the Marine who was shot in his own home, was linked to a home invasion crew, and police found rifles, handguns, body armor, and a portion of a law enforcement uniform in Garina's house. Everything they think they're going to find in there, they find, he said. Put it together, and when you have drug rip-offs that occasionally happen where people disguise themselves as law enforcement officers, it all adds up. Well, here's the problem. Balco spoke to the attorney who's representing the family, and first of all, the guy's a former Marine living in Arizona. The fact that he might have body armor and weapons in his home is hardly surprising at all. Jared Loeffner was able to get a gun. I'm sure an Iraq veteran should be able to possess a gun in his own home. So that's not illegal to own in Arizona. It's got some of the most liberal gun possession laws there are. And then what they're claiming to be the portion of the law enforcement uniform was a Border Patrol baseball cap that you can get at any number of novelty stores all around Arizona. So it's a pretty thin gruel they're serving here, trying to cover their asses at the Pima County Sheriff's Department. I encourage everyone to check out this reporting. It's an amazing story, heartbreaking and tragic story. We've got a link to it up at our blog at stash.normal.org. Headline there is missed it. Arizona police stonewall change stories in killing of Iraq war vet in raid. And one more thing. I am tired of them referring to things like this as a botched drug raid. When you go into somebody's house unannounced, breaking down their door with an automatic weapon in your hand and intending to kill whoever resists, when someone dies, that's not botched. That's according to plan.
This is NORML Show Live, the voice of the Marijuana Nation.
All right, I'm Radical Russ for Ganja John, Kaliko the Intern, and Cannabis Carrie. Thanks for joining us here on NORML Show Live. Live listeners, stay tuned for Hour 2. Podcast listeners, thanks for joining us. And until next time, take care of each other, tokers.